Hey guys, it's Melissa with Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. Today I wanted to talk to you about the process of grief. And this episode today was inspired by a friend of mine, Megan Schaffner. Hey girl, I love you and you're such an awesome person. And I know that your family has struggled this week. She lost her father-in-law to a sudden heart attack. And it made me think of my own experience with death and loss at a young age. When I was about 7 years old, my great uncle passed away from a massive heart attack. And he was not just a great uncle. He lived next door to us. Our families built homes next door to one another. And my grandpas both passed away before I was even born, so I never knew my grandpas. So he was really more like a grandpa to my sister and brother and I. We didn't call him Uncle Les like everyone else did. We called him Papa because he really was our Papa. He took the place of being a grandpa to us, and we loved him so much. He just was the world to us. When we would go to see them, it didn't matter what time of day it was or what was happening. He always acted like he was so happy to see us and just couldn't wait to see us. And I just don't even know how to describe the love that we felt from him. And I'm going to try not to cry, because even now, so many years later, that is still such a raw emotion. And so grief, no matter how long ago it was, it's a process. And there are still days that you feel it. No matter how much time has passed, you still feel that grief. Because, as I said, it is a process, and it doesn't matter how long someone is gone. You will always miss that person. Nothing can really take that away, that you will miss them, because you just will. But what helps is maybe knowing that we will see those people again. We're going to see them again. It's just a matter of time, but it's getting through the days that we are not with them until we do get to see them again. That helps. And everyone experiences grief differently. Everyone processes it differently. Some people move on in their lives and I know so many people who they see someone who loses a spouse and that person moves on and they marry someone else and they think, well, how could that person move on so quickly? But it's not about how long it takes you. Every person is different and everyone has to have a different timetable. Some people have to move on in order to get over it. And it's not even that they're getting over it, but some people cope by moving on. And some people never move on again because they just don't want to and they don't feel like they can. And whatever you do, it's fine for yourself. You have to do what feels right for you. But I know what a raw feeling that is. Even now, I was 7 and it was just a few days before my 8th birthday. And even now, thinking about it, I just want to break down and cry because I remember how raw that felt. I remember the day that it happened. I was at school and I had just seen him either the day before or the 2 days before. I had just seen him and he was joking about, what do you want for your birthday? And he said, do you want to watch? Joking with us because obviously a 7-year-old going on 8-year-old does not want to watch for their birthday. And he was laughing about it, and that's kind of the person he was. He was just lighthearted and jovial. And I remember I was at school and they said, they came over the announcement and said, you have an early dismissal. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, yes, I have an early dismissal. This is so awesome. Because everybody, at that time in grade school, when you had an early dismissal, you wanted to leave school early. But I didn't realize why I had an early dismissal. And I remember getting to the office and my mom she just looked like she was going to be sick. And I knew something was wrong, but she didn't say anything at the time. And she got my brother and I, and she already had my sister, and I remember getting to the house, and she said that, Papa had passed away. And I didn't believe her. And I said, you're lying. And she said, no, go next door and see. And I went next door, and there were a lot of people there, and I can remember my aunt crying and being inconsolable. And that's when I knew that it was true. And it was such a horrible feeling. It's just something that I will never forget. I was only 7 years old, and it's ingrained in my memory as being one of the worst times of my life. And over the years, you get through it and you move on, but that grief is always there. And so, I don't know, I just wanted to talk today about, it's okay to grieve. I saw this week that there was someone from our Facebook group who lost a son due to an accidental shooting, and my heart just sank because as a parent, that is the worst thing that you could ever experience. I don't know how you get through that. And I had a cousin who, at 24 years old, passed away in a car accident. And I remember the grief being the same thing that I experienced with my uncle. I've had a lot of people in my life pass away. But there are certain people that it leaves an impact, We expect some people when they're older, oh yes, well, they're older, they've lived a long life. But when it's sudden and when they're young, it's just, we can't understand why that happens. And I've always been a person who tries to be spiritual and try to, make sense of things. But when those things happen, I will be the first person to admit to you that when a young person passes away, I don't understand why that has to happen. And I know that there's a reason. I know that there are things that we don't understand in this lifetime, that we won't understand until we've crossed that threshold and we're on the other side. We've all signed up to live certain paths. We're here to do certain things. And that when our time is up, it's up. And I get that, and my mind gets that, but my heart doesn't understand that. It's hard for me to understand why people are taken away when we feel like it's not their time. And I know that's probably what a lot of you have felt before. If you've ever felt a sudden loss of anyone who was young, or you just weren't expecting it, that's what it feels like. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like your heart has been ripped out. And you just don't understand why a God who is loving would let that happen. At least that's how I felt. But I also know that I don't understand everything. And I know that there are reasons that I don't have the answers for. So while we wish that we could turn back the time, change the outcome, because I certainly would have loved to have had an adult life with my papa there. We can't change the outcome. We can't change what happened. But we can try to heal from it. And so there are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about that maybe can help you when dealing with grief. First of all, please call on your team. You can't do this alone. I know that your heart is so heavy and your grief is so strong. We need help from our spiritual team to help us get through it. But another thing you need to realize is that you need to be patient with yourself. There's no schedule for when you need to feel better. One day you may be laughing, and the next day you may be falling apart. And that's okay. You don't have to figure out how you're going to get through it. Just try to focus on being there in your life and trying to move forward. But it's normal. It's totally normal to cry and be depressed. But keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep carrying on with your life, because life can't stop. We have to keep moving forward, and our loved ones would not want us to stop and just mourn them. So keep moving forward, but it's okay to know that you're human. And you may have a day where everything seems fine, and then all of a sudden you're in the bathroom in the corner crying to yourself. And that's okay. That's life. Be patient with yourself. Try to adjust your expectations. Know that your emotions are a natural part of the grieving process, and that it's not a life sentence. It's just a period of grief. You will get through this, but don't put any expectations on yourself, and don't let others tell you that you have to have expectations either. Don't let anyone tell you that you need to be better by so-and-so time. Only you know that, and only you can decide that. Grief is not a linear process. Sometimes you move forward, and sometimes we move backwards, and that's okay. Just keep moving. Accept what you cannot change. We can't control what has happened to us, and I think that that is probably the biggest thing about death that most of us are scared of and that we hate, is that we have no control over it. We cannot control when it happens to us or to others, and that's scary. Not having control is one of the scariest things about being a human being. But it's okay. You can choose how you're going to react to this. You can choose what you can change and accept what you can't change. And that means sometimes we have to let go. We can't bring back the past, and we just have to make peace with it, and that's okay. We have to find strength in others. You may feel like you're all alone in your experience, but you are not. Find someone else who's a good listener, who can be there for you. Sometimes you just need a person to talk to, and sometimes you just need someone to totally melt into and cry your eyes out. Know who those people are for you. And I hope that you have those people in your life, and if you don't, please find those people. We need to be there for one another. We have all been through the same things. Everyone has experienced some sort of loss in their life. Find people who are good listeners or good shoulders that you can cry on. Don't get stuck. It's easy to feel like you're going to stay stuck in anger or bitterness. It's so easy to feel like I was robbed. I'm so pissed off at the universe for taking this person from me. Why was I robbed? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've thought this about just different situations. Like, why was this good and kind person taken when these awful, evil people are still left on this earth? I mean, it's easy to get sucked into that thought pattern because I have been there myself. Don't get stuck there, okay? And don't get stuck in your grief. You can get counseling, talk to your doctor about treatment, maybe find a new hobby, something. And like I said, everyone moves through this process differently. Some people take longer than others, and that's okay. But just make sure you're not stuck in the place where you can't move forward. Recognize that time is infinite. And that means that you need to cherish every moment and nurture every relationship. If nothing else, let this be a lesson to you that tomorrow is never guaranteed, and make sure that you are living life to its fullest. Take the time to value this experience. What did you learn? And maybe it's just that you learn not to take life for granted, but there's always a lesson in it. What did you learn from this? And think about, how will you move on from this? And are you really prepared for if this were to happen to someone close to you? Just think about that. But the most important thing, I think, is just to celebrate life. To know that we are not guaranteed another breath on this earth. And we are so lucky and fortunate to experience all that we do and to have all that we have. Don't take even 1 second of that for granted. I know that there are so many times in my life where I wish that I could go back to just 2 or 3 days before my papa passed away and just have one last conversation with him, or just remember what his voice sounded like, because I was just at the age where I don't even remember what his voice sounded like. If I could just hear that, if I could just hear him say my name, or to say, I love you. Those little things that we take for granted. Maybe that's the point of this. Maybe we need to take our lives so seriously and realize that we are not guaranteed even a single second, and to cherish every person in our lives. And I apologize for my emotions, but this is a subject that is very dear to my heart. And I really have been praying and feeling for those of you that have lost loved ones, because I know what you're going through. I know what a shock it is. I know that you're going to be okay and you're going to get through this. But I also know the process that it is to get through grief. And I just want you to know that I am praying for you. You have your entire spiritual team, and all you need to do is call on them. That so many people love you and want you to get through this and come to the other side just better, and to try to understand I don't know that we ever understand why it happens, but maybe just to not take for granted the loved ones that we still have here. And I feel like I haven't even put this eloquently at all, but I hope that you will get through this and come out on the other side stronger. And just know to have patience with yourself, because grieving is a process. It's not something that happens in a day, and it's not something that everyone experiences in the same time frame or in the same way. And there's so many stages of grief. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Know that you are going to be okay. Your loved one is so happy right now. We're the ones left grieving, but they are celebrating, because whenever anyone dies and goes to the other side, there's a party waiting for them. All the people who already left them are there waiting to celebrate their lives. And it's only us who are left grieving. They wouldn't want to come back even if they could. Not because they don't love us, but because on the other side there's no judgment, there's no fear, there's no anything negative. They feel the most unconditional love that you could ever feel. And it's a huge party. And who would want to come back to this earth where we feel all of these negative emotions? So know that if it helps you, we're grieving, but they are so much happier and freer. And if they had any physical ailments, they're gone. They don't have those anymore. They're so happy. And they want us to be happy. They don't want us to be sad for them. It's just our egos and our humanness that says we're sad because they're not here. But if we remembered our true self and where we come from, we would remember that we're going to see them again, and it's going to be so fantastic, because the reunion we're going to have is going to be amazing. So I hope in some small way this helped a little bit. I know that I definitely cannot wait until that reunion day. I have so many people I can't wait to see, and people I have never even met on this earth, but I know that I'm related to over there, and I can't wait. But while you're here on this earth, cherish every moment you have. Love as if you've never been hurt. Dance like nobody's watching. And all those other cliches. Don't take 1 second for granted. Love everyone. Because we are not guaranteed a single second. And we are here to love and to learn. I love each and every one of you, and I hope that you are having a fantastic day, and that if you are experiencing grief or have experienced grief in your life in any way, that you are able to get through it and know that you're going to come out on the other side of this. You're going to be okay. And that if it feels like it's taking you a long time to get through it, you might seek some professional help, and there's no judgment in that. You absolutely need to find help if you can't get through it, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I am sending you so much love and light. I hope you have a fantastic day. Goodbye.